The AG directs acting IGP to arrest 12 people, including Ravi Karunanaike and Arjuna Mahendran, over the March 2016 bond scam. The 2019 electoral registry is to be used for April 25th general elections. Nominations to be called from the 12th to the 19th of March. No change in the decision. The symbol will be finalized in the future, says Samagi Jana Balavegaya. Do not produce bhikkhus to contest the general election, a request made from the chief prelates. Chain theft at Horton Plains. 2 Russians arrested. The former president's warning.
වකුගඩ රෝහල මම ගෙනාපු එක මම හදපු එක මට ලැබිච්ච දැක්ක. ඒකේ කාටවත් බිත්තර දාන්න මම දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Hello then, a very good evening. Starting off with your top story tonight, the Attorney General has instructed the arrest of the suspects involved in the irregularities during the issuance of central bank treasury bonds on the 29th of March 2016 and the 31st of March 2016. These include former Minister Ravi Karunanaike, Arjuna Aloysius and Arjuna Mahendran along with 9 others. The instructions were issued to the Acting Inspector General of Police Chandana Vikramaratne in a letter dated today.
In his letter, the Attorney General said that there was reasonable suspicion on the fraud committed by the suspects based on investigations carried out by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to probe the bond scam and also the investigations carried out by the CID. Citing misappropriation which had occurred during the issuance of treasury bonds with a face value of 36.98 billion rupees on the 29th of March 2016, the AG had called for the arrest of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Sandresh Ravindra Karunanaike, Lakshman Arjuna Mahendran, Arjun Joseph Aloysius, Palisena Appuhamilage Don Kasun Oshadi Palisena, Jeffrey Joseph Aloysius, Chitta Ranjan Hulugalla, Mutturaja Surendran, Ajan Gadia Punchiheva, Tusia Hannadige Buddhika Sarat Chandra, Sangarapille Padmanaban, and Badugodaheva Indika Saman Kumara. The AG stated that these suspects could face charges of insider dealing and market manipulation under sections 386 and 398 of the Penal Code, read with 5(1) and 5(2) of the Public Property Act, as well as the Registered Stock and Securities Ordinance, read with the CBSL's Code of Conduct for Primary Dealers. The AG instructed the acting IGP to obtain an arrest warrant from the relevant magistrates court and to arrest the suspects by acting in line with the Criminal Procedure Code. He also issued instructions to obtain statements from the suspects and to send copies of them without delay. On the same lines, the AG has instructed to carry out investigations if required based on the details uncovered through their statements.
Meanwhile, a lawyer representing Perpetual Treasuries informed court today that after the international audit firm had requested for computer data pertaining to bond transactions to compile the forensic audit report, an additional governor of the central bank had deleted the data in his computer system. The lawyer informed the Colombo Chief Magistrate that the Criminal Investigations Department has not commenced an investigation into this official as of yet.
On to a story that made it to the headlines this evening. Now, details of a large-scale racket involving the collection of animals have been reported emerging the Horton Plains National Park. These details were uncovered following the arrest of 3 Russians.
3 Russians were arrested on the 26th of February for unlawfully collecting various species of animals at the Horton Plains National Park. These individuals had arrived in the country on the 12th of February. Our correspondent noted that a search operation had been carried out at the place in which the suspects had been residing. The Nuwara wildlife officers had recovered 550 animals belonging to 23 species on the location in which they had been staying. This included snails, beetles and other reptiles. Police said that these suspects had been residing in the Sigiriya, Dambulla, Matara and Ginigathena areas. A rented vehicle used by the foreigners had been taken into custody by the police. The suspects have been remanded until the 12th of this month after being produced before the Nuwara Magistrates Court.
A person can enter a national park for the purpose of observing the wildlife or for the study of wildlife. When it comes to tourists, they are given permission only for the purpose of observing the wildlife. In addition, there is a strict provision against the collection of any animal or any part of animal. Hence, it's a offence under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance to enter the park for the purpose of observing and engaging in other activities, which is violation of Section 5. In addition, the collection of an animal or a part is a violation of Section 6 of the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance. The keeping of a specimen in one's possession, if it is an insect, can be a violation under Section 31B of the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance if the species of insect is a protected species of insect. If it is not a protected species of insect, it's an offence under Section 49A of the same Act. We can be certain that the foreigners are collecting these specimens for the sake of exporting them, and illegally exporting animal or part of an animal is an offence under Section 40 of the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance.
Parliament was dissolved with effect from midnight last night. The Gazette notification in this regard was released last night. According to the Gazette, the general election will be held on the 25th of April.
Accepting nominations will be done from the 12th of March until 12 noon on the 19th of March. The Gazette also notes that the new Parliament will convene on the 14th of May 2020. The 2019 electoral register will be used for the general election. Subsequently, 16,263,885 Sri Lankan citizens are eligible to cast their vote at the upcoming election. The district with the highest number of candidates running for this election is from the Gampaha district. The Gampaha district holds 1,785,964 eligible voters. The district with the least number of eligible voters is the one electoral district. According to the Election Commission, there are 8,724 eligible voters in this district. According to the 2019 electoral register, the number of seats from the Galle district had reduced from 10 seats to 9. Meanwhile, the number of seats from the Badula district had increased from 8 seats to 9.
When the
election is announced, there are 4 gazettes that should be issued by us. One is the gazette regarding the symbols. The second is stating who the returning officers are, the number of candidates at each electorate, and the amount that needs to be paid when placing bonds. The last is regarding displaced people casting their vote at a different location. The 2019 electoral list will be used. This means that the number of voters will be increased by 71,778 than the presidential election. Political appointments and distributing goods will be stopped. If there is no absolute necessity, disciplinary inquiries cannot be conducted on state sector employees and they cannot be transferred. You cannot put your initials and titles and distribute rice sacks. Out of 25 working days in the month of April, 10 days are holidays. Are we asking the officials to come? Will we ask that shops be kept open? Will the buses be available? These are all questions. We will do this together with the state sector officials and the police. We have estimated a cost of 5.5 billion rupees to 6 billion rupees. We can only do this if we have 5 billion rupees on the 25th of April. Because it's hard to run such an operation on credit. Similar to last time, the President receives provisions to sign the torrent permit to allocate funds. If to use cardboard boxes or wooden boxes will be decided once we receive the nominations. If the number of parties increase, the cost will increase up to 7 billion to 7.5 billion rupees. The proposal to increase the salaries of state workers. If it's already decided and no one is willing to gain a political advantage out of this, I will refrain on commenting on this. Regarding the issue pertaining to graduates, if it's an essential need, we will consider it. This is not such an issue. So we request to hold it for 2 more months. At the last election, we stopped project assistant appointments, but unfortunately, those appointments have not yet been made. So we request the government to appoint them.
නමුත් අවාසනාවකට ඔවුන්ට තවමත් පත්වීම් ලැබලා දීලා නැහැ. අපි ඒ පිළිබඳවත් රජයට කියනවා ඒ පත්වීම් දෙන්න කියලා. ඒක ඇතෑරියට පස්සේ තමයි බලන්න. බෝලේ දාන කලින් කියනවාද මම මේකට වහ එකක් ගන්නවා කියලා බෝලේ වටනවා තමයි ගන්න. ඇතෑරියම් බලමු. අපේ ලයිස්තුවේ තියෙන 70ක්. ඒකෙන් 6ක් ලේකම් දුරවරතර ගැටලු තියෙනවා.
Dates have been fixed and confirmed for the election. According to the constitution, there is no such time period. 154 applications out of the 156 applications must be checked by us. We don't think any of them can be easily disposed.
154 ඉතාලම සියුම්ම බලන්න ඕනේ. බැලු බැලමට වීච කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා එකක් දෙකක්වත් තියෙනවා කියලා අපි හිතන්නේ. අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලය අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා.
The Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers remain. State Ministers and Deputy Ministers become former ministers, devoid of parties. If the official media units of the relevant ministers engage in canvassing, it's considered as an offence. The official vehicle of ministers cannot be used for canvassing. even if the vehicle has been provided for personal use. If used for campaigning, it will be considered as an offence.
ඒක දේශපාලන කටයුතු
The chairman of the National Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, called on the chief prelates of the Askeri and Malatu chapters today. The objective of this visit was to apprise the chief prelates on the existing laws with regard to the usage of religious places of worship for political activities. The Poles chief, who paid respects to the chief prelate of the Malatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibet Wave Sri Sumangala Thera, expressed the following views.
ආගමික උත්සවවලදී පක්ෂ අපේක්ෂකයෝ ප්‍රවර්ධනය කරන ආකාරයේ කතා පවත්වීම තහනම්. ඒකෙන් අදහස් නැහැ ආගමික පූජ්‍ය පුතුමාණන් වහන්සේලාට දේශපාලන ජීවිතකම් නැහැ කියලා. සිංහල කතා කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මේ කතා පාතේ තියෙන එක අයිති බලපෑමක්.
The NEC chairman then called on the chief prelate of the Askeriya chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Varakaguru Sri Nana Ratana Thera.
අපි අපේ මහා සංඝරත්නයේ ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා මේ මැතිවරණ කටයුතුවලදී විහාරස්ථාන මුල් කරගෙන ඒ දේශපාලකයන් ප්‍රවර්ධනය කිරීමේ ඒ කටයුතු වලට කිසි ආකාරයකින් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න එපායි කියන කාරණය. ඒ වගේම අපේ ප්‍රධාන දේශපාලන පක්ෂවලුත් අපි ඉල්ලා සිටීමක් තිබෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණයේදී භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලාගේ මැදිහත් වීම ඒ නියෝජිත අපේක්ෂකයන් හැටියට ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම සිද්ධ කරන්න එපායි කියන්නේ.
අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ එහෙම මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් කන්සෙප්ට් එකලා තියෙනවා 1970 කම්දෙදි කෝවිලක රැස් වෙලා. ඒක නිසා මේ නීතිය හරි බරපතලයි.
අයිතු බලපෑම කියන කරුණේ තියෙන්නේ
Conducting political meetings at religious venues and promoting politicians at religious ceremonies is considered an offence for exerting undue influence. The reason why I called on the chief prelates of the Askeri and Malwatu chapter is because 75% of the population is made of Buddhists. I will create awareness among other chief prelates, the cardinal, Hindu priests and Muslim ulamas. There is no issue in invoking religious blessings, but political press briefings cannot be held at religious venues.
එම ස්ථාන තුලදී දේශපාලන කතා දැක්වෙන මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡා පවත්වන්න එපයි කියලා.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Public Administration and Management has informed former state ministers and deputy ministers to hand over their official vehicles and official residences. Minister of State Administration Janaka Bandarathanakon said that all state ministers and deputy ministers have been informed about this after the Gazette notification was issued dissolving the parliament. The minister urged that due to the delay in handing over the official residences and vehicles may hinder the future activities to be conducted. Therefore, the minister requests officials to hand over their vehicles and residences to the government. Moreover, Minister Janaka Bandarathanakon said that several ministers of the previous government also have not handed over their official residences that they are residing at. Due to parliament being dissolved, 62 MPs who have not completed 5 years in the parliament will not be entitled to a government pension scheme. 34 parliamentarians out of the 62 parliamentarians representing the United National Party. Meanwhile, 17 parliamentarians who represented United People's Freedom Alliance will also face a similar situation. Moreover, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa from the Jatika Vimukti Perumuna, 6 other parliamentarians who represented the Tamil National Alliance will also not be entitled to a government pension. The leader of the opposition handed over his office and the official residence today after the parliament was dissolved. Sajid Premadasa, who came to the opposition leader's office, handed over the keys of his office and the official residence to the secretary of opposition leader Abdul Naufar Rahman. From the 3rd of January, which is the date I took over the leader of the opposition position, I believe we have contributed ourselves for the betterment of the general public each and every day that we spent disregard of the personal agendas.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena met agrarian representatives in the Valikanda Divisional Secretariat.
A former president who came to the farmers' gathering was warmly welcomed.
අද පොළොන්නරුවේ රාජ්‍ය සේවකයන් ලොකු භීතියකින් බයකින් ඉන්නවා.
Today, the public servants in Polonnaruwa are in great fear whether they will be transferred. During the 2015 presidential election, many employees in the Mahaveli authority worked against me. People who I gave jobs in other institutions worked against me. But when I became the president, I did not transfer anyone. As a policy, I am against bribery and corruption. During this election campaign, we have already formed the Sri Lanka Nidahas Podujana Alliance. Therefore, we do not have to criticize ourselves. We should carry out our political activities as very generous, disciplined humans. I contested in 6 general elections and I got elected from all 6. I contested in the 2015 presidential election. You gave me a great victory from it as well. But I did not distribute applications to the youth in order to bring them by saying that I will give jobs to them. People who collected these applications or the president cannot do that. There is no government that have done that. The President of the Republic of China gave me a gift, and that is a nephrology hospital. Then I heard that they have called applications for jobs in that. The nephrology hospital is what I created. It is what I built. It is what I received. I will not let anyone lay eggs in my nest.
ඉතින් වකුගඩු රෝහල මම ගෙනාපු එක මම හදපු එක මට ලැබිච්ච දෑග්ග. ඒකේ කාටවත් බිත්තර දාන්න මම දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
A court of appeal in United States of America has granted a request made by Ahimsa Wickrematunge, the daughter of slain journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge, to dismiss the case filed against President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at a US court without prejudice, which clears the way for future litigation once he no longer enjoys immunity as a head of state.
On the 21st of October 2019, Ahimsa filed a case at a United States District Court for the Central District of California over her father's alleged murder. The court granted Gotabaya Rajapaksa's motion to dismiss, finding that he was entitled to common law foreign official immunity for acts undertaken while serving as Secretary of Defense. The case was filed against President Gotabaya Rajapaksa during the run-up to the presidential election in 2019.
Also in local news, the Ministry of Finance has appointed acting general managers at the 2 state banking giants, the Bank of Ceylon and the People's Bank, with immediate effect.
The acting general manager at Bank of Ceylon, Sugat Gunasekara, was previously serving as a senior deputy general manager at the institution. KB Rajapaksa, who is serving as the senior deputy general manager of retail banking at People's Bank, was appointed as the acting general manager of the same institution. Following the cabinet decision to change the heads, Treasury Secretary S.R. Atigala made the acting appointments. Bandara and Gunawardena were seconded and offered placements at the Treasury. Reports say that Bandara had opted to retire from the service. Meanwhile, Sanjay Mohottala assumed duties as the new Director General of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka yesterday. Mohottala was a managing director and partner at the Boston Consulting Group. He was responsible for corporate development, principal investors and private equity practices, and led the transport and logistics practices across Asia Pacific.
An art exhibition by Iftikhar Khader, a renowned Sri Lankan painter, was held today at the Lionel Wendt Art Centre. The exhibition will be held tomorrow as well. Newsfirst spoke to Iftikhar Khader today on the future of art in Sri Lanka.
There are a lot of paintings surrounding us at the moment. If I am to ask you to pinpoint your favorite painting, what would your answer be?
It's a difficult question. I like landscapes. I prefer landscape, but I also paint portraits. I have a painting here of the Dalada Maligava, which is one of the best paintings I've done.
There is a crowd in Sri Lanka that truly appreciates this type of work, and they come in and feedback that you receive thus far for this exhibition. How has the feedback been? What is the future like in terms of this particular exhibition?
You know, they must have an opportunity of seeing how to paint and what is being painted, not sort of restrict yourself to what you find here. You must try and improve that by exposure to foreign places, art galleries, and on TV, for instance, we have to have more and more programs on art and the various types of art. So I think that is greatly lacking here at the moment.
In biz-related news, Fitch Ratings has said that Sri Lanka's finance and leasing sector will face added pressure for consolidation as deadlines for the implementation of tougher capitalization requirements approach in 2021.
It added, though the consolidation of the sector is positive for financial sector stability in Sri Lanka, the process could be impeded by a challenging operating environment. Gross loan growth for Sri Lanka's finance and leasing companies has slowed sharply in a sluggish economy, coming in at only 0.5% year-on-year at the end of September 2019, against 12.9% on average between end of 2015 and the end of 2018. The capacity of some of smaller FLCs to withstand asset quality pressures stemming from this more challenging environment has been weak, owing in part to thin capital buffers. Figures from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka indicate that FLCs accounted for 7.6% of the total financial system assets at the end of 2018, so developments in the sector are significant for the overall stability of the financial sector. The top 10 FLCs accounted for 69% of the sector assets at the end of September 2019, with 33 smaller FLCs representing the remaining 31%. FLCs may face difficulty improving their profitability as economic growth is expected to remain subdued. This could impede efforts to meet enhanced regulatory capital requirements by generating capital internally or by raising capital externally. Fitch Ratings also said they believe the risk will be higher for smaller standalone finance companies.
The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka has set a target of drawing in foreign direct investments worth $2 billion by the end of this year. Director of the BOI's Media and Publicity Division, Dilip Samarasinghe, told Newsfirst that these investments would be drawn in through various projects, including construction of hotels.
The highest foreign investment received by Sri Lanka so far this year is $250 million for the construction of a 30-storied commercial tower inclusive of 700 new residences. This commercial tower would be constructed behind the Shangri-La Hotel and the One Golf Face Mall in Colombo. Speaking to Newsfirst, Minister of Investment Promotion Prasanna Ranatunga said that most of the FDIs received over the last 2 years were from China and European countries. He stated that these investments were received for power-related projects. Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism and Investment Promotion Prasanna Ranatunga also told media, quote, "After the appointment of the present government in November last year, we have received many fresh applications for several new tourism-led projects. During the last 2 months, we have received applications which altogether amount to $370 million worth of projects." End quote. This $370 million in FDI includes a $250 million mixed development project by Shangri-La along Bala Daksha Mawata in Colombo too. Ranatunga also expressed confidence in the proper revival of investment and tourism industry, noting that the ministry aimed to attract 30 new tourism-related investments by the end of the year. He said that the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka was expecting to achieve an FDI target of around $122 million from these 30 new tourism-related projects by the end of 2020.
Now, the Auditor General's office has found that tourists are facing dangers while visiting national parks due to the absence of a mechanism to regulate safari jeeps. In a special audit report, the National Audit Office found that foreign tourists have also been charged higher fares for visiting national parks due to the intervention of private brokers.
The report published by the Auditor General's office showed that the Department of Wildlife Conservation had earned more than 2.2 billion rupees from tourists visiting national parks in 2018. This figure underscores the importance of regulating the industry, given the potential of the income such services could generate to the country. The report raises concern on the safety of tourists visiting national parks, as the Department of Wildlife Conservation had not introduced a mechanism to register safari jeeps. Substantiating this finding, the National Audit Office referred to an incident on the 20th of July last year, when a shooting was carried out by unauthorized hunters at the Udawalawe National Park, while a jeep carrying foreign tourists had been on tour. The report showed that while a group of 6 foreign tourists could tour the Yala National Park on a safari jeep at the cost of 17,950 rupees, the intervention of private brokers has resulted in a tourist group of 6 having to pay a sum of 36,000 rupees. On the same lines, the National Audit Office said that private guides and safari jeep drivers had the opportunity to charge higher prices from tourists, as only one ticket is provided for a tourist group, while noting that visitors who purchase tickets are allowed to tour the park from 6 AM to 6 PM The report observed that safari drivers complete the tour within just 2 hours, taking advantage of the unawareness of the tourists in this regard. The report further noted that tourists are deprived of access to a wide range of the park as jeeps opt to travel on easy routes despite being granted permission to explore difficult routes as well. The National Audit Office also observed that there was no sign of inspection carried out into the licenses issued to tour guides and safari jeep drivers.
Moving on to a weather advisory, the Met Department notes that the temperature felt on human body is expected to increase up to extreme caution levels at some places in northwestern, western, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces, as well as in Mana and Monaragala districts.
The extreme caution level ranges from 32 degrees Celsius to 41 degrees Celsius. The Met Department notes that heat cramps and heat exhaustion is possible and that continuous activity under the sun could lead to a heat stroke. The Met Department says that citizens should stay hydrated and take breaks in the shade as often as possible. They should check up on the elderly and the sick. They should never leave children unattended. They should limit strenuous outdoor activities and wear lightweight and white or light-colored clothing.
Sri Lanka rejected what it called inaccurate assertions and inadequate assessments made by the UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief.
A statement by the government of Sri Lanka issued at an interactive dialogue of the 43rd UN Human Rights Council session in Geneva with Special Rapporteur Ahmad Shahid yesterday noted with concern that limited time was made available to Sri Lanka to adequately respond to Shahid's report. Shahid was in Sri Lanka in August last year, 4 months after the Easter Sunday attacks. His advanced unedited report compiled in the wake of this visit and shared with Sri Lanka on February 3rd for comments raised concerns on religious freedom in the island. Sri Lanka's statement said, quote, within the limited time available, Sri Lanka wishes to provide some general observations on the SR's report. We request that our full observations which will follow be published as part of the report, unquote. In his report, Shahid said that despite positive developments since 2015, tensions among ethnic and religious communities persist. Significant gaps exist, he said, particularly in upholding accountability and access to justice, as well as ensuring non-recurrence of human rights violations. The SR also referred to statements made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the run-up to last year's presidential polls that the UN officials said had effectively rejected the pledges made by past governments that respect to post-war accountability and reconciliation.
Political parties in crisis.
Now, the Jatika Samagi Jana Balawegaya, including the United National Party, is preparing for the much-awaited general election. The General Secretary Ranjit Madhuma Bandara said that all mechanisms pertaining to the general election is ready to be implemented. They are also to inform about the finally decided party symbol which they will contest under during the upcoming presidential election, during the upcoming general election for their party supporters. Now, a party headquarters premises is already in place for the party operations.
The chairman of the National Elections Commission has accepted the name of the alliance as Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the positions of chairman and general secretary. The post chief in his letter says that he has accepted Sajid Premadasa as the leader of the alliance and Ranjit Madhuma Bandara as the general secretary. Some individuals are attempting to threaten the party by claiming that this is illegal. They belong to a defeated group which has realized that they will not receive the votes of the people. Our nomination board will convene a meeting tomorrow. We will commence interviews on Thursday. After that, we will take relevant steps to firmly establish the Samagi Jana Balawegaya as the main political alliance in the country. We are looking for a common symbol. It is from today that we can discuss about changing the symbol according to the election laws. We will change the symbol in due course.
එහෙම ඉල්ලන්න බෑනේ කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලේ තීන්දුවක් ගත්තානේ සංවිධානගත වෙලා එකට ඉල්ලනවා කියලා. එජාපේ එම පාර්ශවයේ සිරිකොත පාර්ශවයේ පිරිසත් ඔබතුමාලාගේ මාත් අපි සිරිකොත මම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නියෝජ්‍ය සභාපති.
Now, a media briefing was convened today at the Sirikota party headquarters. The interesting or the speciality of this media briefing was right after one MP expresses his views, he is replaced by the next MP, similar to a game of musical chairs. Now, the journalists were doing but nothing but to sit and listen to the views expressed by the MPs. They could not raise any questions during the media briefing. Now, a group including Akila Viraj Karyavasam and Dayagamage was seen at the media briefing.
Former parliamentarians Akila Viraj Karyavasam and Navin Dissanayake first convened a press briefing at the UNP headquarters in Sirikotha.
All of us decided to move forward together under the symbol of the elephant. We are prepared to make any sacrifices in that regard. As the General Secretary, I am too prepared to undergo any sacrifices. This is because our win would be useless if the party is divided and the leader is discarded. Some are trying to create a division between Sajith Premadasa and Ranil Wickremesinghe, stating that a win could be registered by contesting separately. We wish to reaffirm that the party will not be divided. We will always strive to protect the party at all times. Even they cannot comment on the symbol of the Samagi Jana Balavegya. We too are unaware of it and therefore we are keen to know what the symbol is. Therefore, membership in the alliance could be obtained not by parties but by individuals. We will not give the UNP symbol to anyone. That is because it would require 5 years to get it back. We do not wish to see the nomination list of a party being rejected. Our political career will be over with that. I made a request to contest under the symbol of the elephant. When the party and the party leadership has agreed on 90% of the conditions, it is unfair to demand more. If a change in the party leadership is required, that should be done in line with the party's constitution. That can be done after the general election.
Parliamentarians Navin Dissanayake and Akila Viraj Karyavasam left the venue when parliamentarian Dayagamage arrived to address the media.
මාව මේ කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ එදා ජාතික සංවිධායකවරයා හැටියට පටන් මාව තෝරගත්තේ දයාසිරි ජයසේකරව පරද්දල ඡන්ද 56ක්.
I was appointed as a national organizer in the working committee after I defeated Dayasiri Jayasekara. I would have been appointed as the deputy leader if I had contested in that position at that time. I told that I would hand over the position to Sajith Premadasa as I did not want to create divisions within the party. We went to the residence of Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and asked him to lead the election campaign. Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed his agreement towards this. I wish to tell Sajith Premadasa to give his consent as well as to join both factions instead of giving room to split the party. There are certain individuals who have entered into contracts with people like Basil Rajapaksa. Although the name of the alliance is spelled as unity, we will have to make sacrifices to unite both factions. If we are divided, the Podujana Eksat Perumana will clinch the parliamentary majority.
බාහිර අරගෙන තියෙනවා සමගි කියන නම තිබ්බට සමගිය හදාගන්න නම් මස් රාත්තල බෙදා ගන්න වෙනවා. අපි පක්ෂ දෙකක් හැටියට ගියොත් එහෙම අපි අන්තිමට 3න් 2ක් ලබා දෙනවා පොදු ජන එක්සත් පිරිමුන්ට.
Inviting Karu Jayasuriya to lead the election campaign is similar to the manner in which old individuals were involved in the presidential election. We wish to tell Karu Jayasuriya that he has completed 95% of his political career. Do not be the scapegoat to save Ranil Wickremesinghe. Do not commit suicide for the sake of Ranil Wickremesinghe. As the village saying goes, do not become the sheet which is installed outside houses when it rains heavily. Navin Dissanayake is trying to bring in Karu Jayasuriya by speaking about the elephant. What we wish to say is that the father-in-law and son-in-law relationship is what we saw in the past. All of a sudden, Navin Dissanayake is showing great concern for the elephant. This was not there in the past. He contested under the symbol of the beetle leaf as well. Some individuals who worked with Mahinda Rajapaksa during his administration are now on the other side. We see individuals who struck deals and opposed moves to grant lands to the residents of Panama are convening press briefings for the other faction. At the same time, we also know that certain secretaries appointed by Ranil Wickremesinghe are dummies. These individuals have entered into contracts with the government. They are attempting to contest the election under the symbol of the elephant and then cross over to the Pohot tour. We wish to ask Ranil Wickremesinghe to contest the election as he is the leader and has the authority to issue nominations.
Now, the Attorney General has instructed the arrest of 12 suspects involved in the irregularities during the issuance of central bank treasury bonds in 2016. Also, some politicians have called for the arrest of former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe over his involvement in the bond issue.
I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency.
Ranil Wickremesinghe
ඒක මොකද? රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහනේ ඉස්සෙල්ලාම ගන්නවා.
ඇයි මේ එතුමාගේ නම නැතුව අනිත් අය
මමත් ඒක අහනවා.
ඔබතුමාලා අපි දැක්ක මාධ්‍යවල කිව්වේ මේ සම්පූර්ණ බැංකු ටික බාර වෙන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ.
Not only that, there were other reasons as well for him to execute this operation. To implement his neoliberal economic policy, he needed to change the method and to provide a chance for the people in higher class to achieve benefits. He also associated to the theft in addition to this.
අවස්ථාව ලාභය අරන් දෙන්න. ඒකත් එක්ක හොරකමකට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියුනේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතාත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ගත යුතුයි කියලාද ඔබතුමා?
ඔව්. අයි මේකේ ප්‍රධානම මෙහෙයුම්කරු ඔහුනේ. ඔව් ගන්නේ නැති නඩු පරීක්ෂණයක් හරියට ප්‍රධාන චරිතය නැති නාට්‍යයක් වගේ.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතාට නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙයිද? ඔබතුමා මොකද මේක හිතන්නේ?
He is the main culprit and the brains. He is safe. What does he get caught for? Just like in politics, we were accusing the Attorney General for his inaction all this time. It's good that it was initiated today. It had to be decided by the Attorney General, not us. We put forth the information. The AG had to look into it. There was evidence, written, spoken, digital, a lot of it. It isn't our job, but the job of the AG.
ඔබතුමාලා ඉදිරිපත් කරන කරුණට සාධාරණයක් ඉෂ්ට වෙලා කියලාද හිතන්නේ?
තාම නෑ නඩු දානකම් ඉන්නවා සාධාරණ කියලා මේ ඔය කරාට බලන නඩු දානකම් මට විශ්වාස නෑ.
News overseas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gained seats in Israel's election yesterday, according to early exit polls that put him almost within grasp of a right-wing governing coalition.
It is unclear whether Netanyahu can clinch a parliamentary majority needed to claim victory. Exit polls on Israel's media channels projected Netanyahu's Likud party and his religious and nationalist allies would capture 60 seats, leaving one seat short of a majority needed to claim victory. According to foreign media, Netanyahu's Likud party won about 37 seats, ahead of his rival Benny Gantz of the centrist Blue and White Alliance. If the final results give Netanyahu a parliamentary majority, it would pave the way for a new term and give him a boost as he prepares to go on trial for corruption charges. But if he falls short, the country's year-long political deadlock will continue and could potentially face a fourth consecutive election. Benny Gantz, Netanyahu's rival, told his supporters that despite the disappointment of exit polls after the country's third election in less than a year, his Blue and White party will continue to serve the people of Israel.
Well, on that note, we wrap this edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm Joel Outscore.
And I'm Dasmi Atada, along with our interpreter tonight, Brian De Cruz. Good night.
Good night.